Is it the policy of Chicago Public Schools to forbid biological men, boys, to go into locker rooms with biologic girls?
Any student, gender identity include.
I take that as a yes.
Transgender women should be allowed in women's spaces.
That's a yes.
San Francisco, we follow state and federal law.
I take that as a yes as well.
Pronouns and transgender policies taking center stage at heated hearings on Capitol Hill over parental rights in America's public schools. Our next guests were at that hearing, and their children have been forced to put up with these policies. Joining us now, America First Legal Senior Counsel Ian Pryor and Loudoun County parent Abby Platt. Thank you both for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So yesterday on Capitol Hill, we heard from the superintendent from Chicago, from San Francisco, and from Loudoun County. And Abby, I know that your children, Ian, you pulled your kids out 4 years ago, your two children. But Abby, you've stood by the school, not stood by the school, you've kept your children there, but you're fighting the district and you're standing up for the parents who agree with you. Tell me what your daughter and what your son have gone through in the bathrooms.
You know, our bathroom problem started 10 years ago, before they even made this policy, before they made bathrooms and locker rooms an open door for any and all people. When my daughter was in elementary school, there was a little boy who was her very close friend. They were very close friends for 2 or 3 years. And then over the summer, his mom socially transitioned him. He came back to school dressed like a girl with his ears pierced and his hair grown out as much as you can over the summer. And they told my baby, this is our friend and she goes by this name. And these little kids were like, what? So now fast forward, she's a senior in high school. We've been putting up with this for a very long time. That means there are boys in the girls' locker room. There are boys in the girls' bathrooms. When my little boy was in the 5th grade, he had 2 little girls in his class that, as he would describe, were pretending to be boys. He was standing in a urinal one day and a little girl in his class walked right in and stared down at his penis. My son came home devastated and in tears, distraught that a girl in his class would come and look at him while he was using the bathroom. This is a long-standing problem. You hear, everybody knows Loudoun County is the epicenter, ground zero for big-time problems, and you know, we've had enough.
Ian, we always hear them say, well, we're following the law. These are the laws. And you told our producers, every other student is told to accommodate or get out of the way. You represent some of the families that have been suing the school district. You pulled your children out. Tell me what you thought. What was your reaction of yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I was appalled to hear Superintendent Spence consistently talk about how they follow federal law and they're in compliance with federal law. And you heard the exchange where he said federal law requires us to allow biological men into women's locker rooms. That is false. Not only is it false, but they actually made that argument in federal court in a case that I represented families on, and they lost. There is no federal law that says that. They are gaslighting the public. They were gaslighting the committee. And he also talked about how, you know, if there's an overnight field trip and a girl is uncomfortable with a biological male sleeping in the same room with her, then the parent can request an accommodation. Well, my question is how? Because Loudoun County Public Schools won't even tell parents if their child is transitioning to a different gender. Are they really going to tell a parent in advance of a field trip that, hey, there's a kid that claims to be transgender that's possibly going to be sleeping in the same room as your daughter? Of course they're not going to. So when they say they give parents accommodations, it's nonsense. They don't even give parents the information to get the accommodations.
Yeah, you know, Abby, we all have children in school, all parents that are watching, and sometimes we don't want to ruffle feathers because we don't want them to retaliate against our children or think we're, you know, the mom that's complaining. What made you speak out and what made you keep your children in the school district?
You know, we've had a lot of hard conversations with our children. Loudoun County schools were previously known to be the absolute best in the country, and that's why we moved to this neighborhood and to this house, because of the schools that our children would feed into. Sadly, when people do speak out, the superintendent, the district, they do retaliate. And you see that, we saw that a year ago with those Loudon boys who were filmed in their own locker room. And then what happened? They were suspended. And the school came after them so viciously. We're seeing the exact same thing happen right now at Freedom High School. You've got one kid with a camera who for years has been taking pictures of other children's genitals when they use the bathroom. For years. One brave kid came forward, and what did they do to him? They suspended him, and they're not letting him walk with his graduating class. So I feel compelled to stand up and speak to protect my own children, but also to protect 70,000 plus other kids whose parents maybe work for the federal government or who work for a corporation that they're afraid that they'll lose their job if they should speak up. That retaliation, that retribution is well known. And so I can't not speak that because our school systems were so good for so long, we don't have a lot of private schools and they're all full. They're almost impossible to get into. So it isn't a choice for people who don't have a lot of money, but also there isn't availability for many.
Oh, the worst feeling when you just feel stuck. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.